going on, guys? Welcome back to part 19. In this part, we're going to implement the following feature. So without further ado, let's just get started. Alright, so basically I'm just going to go to the profile header. I want to fix something really quick that I did in the last episode. So as you can see here, we have those two functions, but they are kind of misleading. So we're going to make it a little bit easier for example. So as you can see here, we are naming the function configure button as followed. So instead of relying on the verbs or the state, we're just going to change that. So we want to configure our button as follow. So it just makes sense over here to change the texting to follow, I guess. And over here, or basically, we're just going to exchange these name with that, basically. So configure as follow. And we're just going to paste that in here. And here we are just going to say configure as unfollow. So basically that makes a lot of sense. So we have a function that configure our button to show the following state with the design for that. And for the unfollowing state as well, we have a function to do exactly like this. So the name of the function doesn't have anything to do with the state, with the current state. We're just telling the button how we want it exactly to look like. All right, so let me just hit build and run to see where we stopped in the last episode. So I believe in the last episode we implemented the search functionality. So yeah, I believe I have an error here because I just changed the name of that. So let me just say configure as follow. I guess that's it. So let me see what we have so far. All right. So in the last episode we searched for ourselves. So basically this is the account that we've been testing with since we have started the series. So last time we just did that. So yeah, I'm actually searching for myself over here, but we want to introduce another account in order to see if actually that is working. So I've basically prepared this simulator over here. Basically, I'm running two simulators right now, one on the iPhone 15 Pro and the other on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So let's just create a new account, or basically, let's just create a new account over here really quick so that we can start fresh. So I'm going to name this, for example, jack@apple.com. And over here, I'm just going to provide my very secure password, which is 1 through 8. Don't tell anyone about that. So as you can see here, we are presented with the form in which we are going to add the data. So let's just say, for example, that we're going to use this photo over here. And for the display name, maybe something like Jack Sparrow. And over here, let me just say Sparrow. This is just going to be my username. And as a matter of fact, I want all of it to be, we can just leave it like this. And for the bio, I can say something like retired pirate. All right, so yeah, that is fun. All right, so I'm just going to hit submit, and we can introduce something like a loading widget or something like this, but we haven't done that in the last episodes, maybe because it's just going to complicate the things much more than we need. So we're just going to wait until we upload everything to the server. And if we went to the profile, as you can see here, I can see here, Jack Sparrow. It's actually with 3 R's, so that's funny, yeah. And we have our username over here, it's Sparrow. And we have our bio there as well. So let's just put that into test. So let's just say Sparrow, and as you can see here, I have retrieved this newly created account over here on the iPhone 15 Pro. So basically the search functionality checks it is working correctly. And as you can see here, I think I missed the character, but we can add that later and we can worry about that later. All right, so what we want to do basically is whenever we want to tap on this result over here, we want to present the profile from the bottom of the screen over here. So let's just do that. So as you can see here, the search results view controller is basically the view controller that has the table view in which we are loading all of our search results. And basically there is a way for doing that. Fortunately, in the last episode, we already conform to the UI table view delegate so that it gives us all the functionalities that the get delegate of this table view has. And one of these features that it has is did select row at index path. So basically we can take actions whenever the user taps on the table view over here. So for example, as you can see here, if I tapped on one of these, as you can see here, the cell gets highlighted and never gets dehighlighted, if that's the correct word. So basically we want to change that, for example. So I can say something like table view, and here I get access to the table view itself. And as a matter of fact, it's basically the first function that you see over here. So basically I want to deselect the row at index path, which is basically passed from here. And yeah, maybe make it animated so it looks a little bit nicer, and it takes time to fade out as it was selected. All right, so I guess we can do the search one more time. So it was called Sparrow, and as you can see, whenever I tab on it, it just gets dehighlighted as well. So what do we want to do right now? All right, so we said that we want to present the user with the profile of the specified user over here. So let's just do that. And you know what, I can just fix that really quick because it's really annoying. So I can just add in here the @ sign. So yeah, it is can be added like this. So I'm just going to add the username and prepend that with the @ sign over here because it looks a lot nicer. All right, so let's just do that. So let's just see how we are basically initializing the profile that we have. All right, so whenever we go to the profile screen over here, we get the user, our current user, but we want to use this view controller for other users as well. So let's just go to the profile view controller and see what we are doing. I believe inside the view did load over here, we retrieve user. So let's just go to this function and see what is happening as well. So as you can see here, retrieve user is basically getting the current user from the Firebase auth over here. So basically this is just going to be hard coding, or basically one option, which is your account, which is going to be loaded. So it doesn't make sense to recreate the profile view controller in order to be able to use with other users as well. So that doesn't make sense. All right, and as you can see here, we have a Twitter user. So what if we can fetch this user from outside and then initialize this view model with this current user over here? All right, so I believe we're not going to use this retrieve user for now, so let me just remove this option key from here, or basically the question mark, and we want to initialize this profile view model with this exact user. So let me just say init user, which is going to be of a type Twitter user. It's not going to be optional or anything like this. And here I can just assign this user to that to this property over here. So whenever we are initializing the view model, we want to get this user directly. As you can see here, the fetch users is just going to complain because you cannot just use this as you cannot just guardlet something which is not optional. So we can safely do this and fetch the user for the current user over here. So a cool trick to do is just to hit Command B to build this project so that Xcode tells you what is going wrong exactly. So we have in here the user as well. It's not basically yeah, so it's not actually an optional, so basically it's the same thing over here. So hit Command B one more time so that Xcode is just going to complain. And as you can see here inside the view model, no, it's actually inside the home view controller, the function that gets triggered whenever we tap on the profile is complaining because the view model that you're trying to pass into the view controller does not have the user. Alright, so fortunately inside the view model of the view controller itself, the home view controller, as you can see here, has a home view model, has its own view model over here. So maybe you can make this a little bit more clearer. So let's just rename this to profile view model. And that profile view model just needs to have the user injected as well. So if we reference the home view model, we are going to get the user over here. So as you can see here, it's an optional. So we can say guard let users just equal to user, else return, and pass in the user over here. So that will perfectly work because whenever you're tapping on your profile, we're just going to retrieve your user from the home view model and pass in down the profile view model and pass that as well to the profile view controller, so everything is set up correctly. And now Xcode is not going to give us any error. I hope, yes, build succeeded. So we need to do the exact same thing with the search results view controller. We need to pass in the user that we have, which we have selected, and pass it down to the profile view controller, in which we're going to present directly from that screen. All right, so search results view controller, and as you can see here, we want to take action on adding this or basically on tapping on that user. So I'm just going to say let user just going to be users, and over here let me just pass in the index path.row. So if you highlighted this, this is just going to give you the Twitter user. So we just need to add the profile view model and say here profile view model that takes that user. So user, and let's just initialize this. Let view controller just going to be profile view controller that takes a view model. We have that as well. And here we can just present this view controller, so pass in the view controller and hit true. All right, let me just hit Command R so that we can build and run to test if that is working correctly. All right, so let me just wait until the simulator decides to show up. So search, we're just going to search for sparrow. As you can see here, whenever we tap on that, as you can see here, we get presented with the profile. All right, so something is going wrong, which is we're not actually we have passed the user correctly, but we're not using that at this point, right? So let me just go to the profile view controller and let's walk through the let's walk through basically the logic over here. As you can see here, after we bind everything to the view, this is all for the UI part. This is things get tricky. We're retrieving the user, so let's just go in here. As you can see here, we're still getting the same user. All right, or basically we're just overriding the passed in user over here. We're just getting the same user that we have, and then if everything works correctly, we are just going we're just assigning this and fetching the tweet for that user as well. So the trick or basically the only way for solving that is actually pretty simple. We can just remove all of this because we are already passing the user from outside, and over here we can just delete this boy over here, and let me just try that again. All right. So maybe we're just going to add a new functionality for basically fetching the tweets, because the retrieve user was actually responsible for fetching the tweets. So we need just to add that again. All right. So search, yeah, it was called Sparrow actually. So Sparrow, and over here we are fetching the correct profile. It just needs to add, we just need to add the fetching tweets as well. So we can actually do this really simple. So view model dot fetch user tweets, and that's it, right? Okay, so the user clearly doesn't have any tweets for now, but we can actually test that. We have the other simulator over here. So let's just go back in here and say something like I'm heading to the Black Pearl. All right, so I'm just referencing this part of the Caribbean movie. So yeah, this is the tweet over here. And if I searched for that, all right, I can see here I'm heading to the Black Pearl. Okay, that looks awesome. All right, so the other thing that we need to do is we are not setting that correctly, because the follow button is just going to show whether you're just viewing your own profile or someone else's profile. So that doesn't make any sense as well. All right, so we need to see how we can actually implement the following feature. So basically this is just what we're gonna do. All right. So I'm just going to open Safari over here, and let me just say console Firebase, and where is it? Twitter clone over here. All right. Okay, so we can just go to the Firebase data store, and as you can see here, we have two collections, one for the tweets that we have and one for the users. So basically we're just going to add a new collection in which we're just going to keep track of who's following whom, okay? And please focus on these two words, they are totally different. So let's just do that basically. So the way that we're just going to implement this is, let's just create this collection over here manually. So I'm just going to say followings and hit next. And over here, I can just, for example, generate a random ID for that. And I'm just going to keep track of, again, who is following whom. So basically, I'm just gonna say follower. And basically, this is just going to be a string. So follower, and here's the tricky part. This is just going to show you who is following whom. So basically, if I'm following this new testing account, which is Jack Sparrow, for example, I'm just going to say the follower is Amr, and the following, which is basically the user that you are following, basically, it's just going to be Sparrow. All right. So it's just gonna make sense later, but let's just say, for example, I want to get all the followers that are following Sparrow. So basically, I'm just going to query the following collection for anyone who is following Sparrow. So this is really cool. And basically, we're just going to pass in here the ID of all of these users. So it's not just going to be Amr and Sparrow, for example, over here. All right. So let's just cancel that for now. All right, so we haven't created anything yet, and let's just go back to Xcode. All right, and over here inside the database manager, I'm just going to create a new function over here. So I'm just going to create a new path. So let following path, this is going to be a string, and set that to followings. All right, so let's just move in down here, and let's just implement this function. So collection followings. All right, so we're just matching the convention that we have established over here. And we can say something like is follower, and this is going to be of type string. All right, and here let me just say following, and this is just going to be of a type a string as well. And this is just going to return an any publisher that either return a true or false, so it's a Boolean variable, and an error if there is any. All right, so we can say something like database.collection following path. All right, and let's just see if there is a document that represent this relationship. So again, for example, I created a document that represent that Thomas is following Sparrow, for example. So I will say where field. All right. So this document should has two queries basically, or basically two constraints. So we can chain these together over here, and no, this is just going to be is equal, and this is going to be of a type any. All right, so we're just going to change that. So we can say something like here follower, and we are just going to pass in is follower over here, and here we are just going to say following and pass in here this one as well. All right, so if this two matches, if these two matches basically, well, if there's actually a document, so the return documents count is not 0. If anything above 0, which is basically just going to be 1 almost, because we cannot have basically a duplicate of someone is following someone twice. You only follow someone once. So if there is a return document from here, that means this follower is following this guy over here. All right, and we can say map or try map, I believe. So yeah, I think we can get documents first. So yeah, we are just going to get the documents, and over here we can map to the document itself, or you know what, we can map to the count. All right, and over here we can map as well, but in this time we're just going to say transform. All right, and basically we can return this number over here. So return dot basically not equal 0. All right, we can actually omit this return over here, and we can just erase to any publisher. All right, so basically what we're doing right here, we are checking if this follower is following this guy over here. All right, and we talked about the logic behind that, and we're just going to get the documents, and if the counts, or if the count of these documents not equal to 0, so that means we are following this guy over here, and so basically we're just going to return true or false basically. All right, so you know how to consume this function over here. So let's just go to the profile view controller. All right, or in fact the view model itself, not the profile view controller. All right, so we want to something that keeps track of the current state of whether the profile is followed. So we are following this profile, or we're not following this profile, or we are looking at our own profile. So maybe we can define an enum over here. So profile following state. All right. And we can say something like case followed or user is followed, case user is unfollowed, case user maybe something like personal, which indicates that we're looking at our own profile. All right, so we can initialize a new published property over here. So by default, I just want to say that this is just going to be my own profile by default. I just don't want to initialize that to a an optional state, for example. Okay, so because if it's optional state, I will not just show it, and if I'm not just going to show it, it's just going to match the state of the personal, so we can just set that to personal by default. So maybe you can say current following state, and just say profile following state and initialize that to personal for now. All right, and over here we can check if this profile is being followed or not. So let's just create this function really quick. So as you can see here, we are fetching the tweets. Okay, that looks nice. And basically we just need to create a new private function over here. So private function, because we're just going to call it from inside this view model. So private function check if followed. All right. And over here we can say database manager dot shared dot collection followings. And over here we want to pass our own user ID, which we can easily get from Firebase auth over here. And the following is basically the user that we are following right now, right? So let's just say something like, first we want to make sure that we don't make any unnecessary calls for the database. Okay, so we can say something like guard let user, or basically guard let personal user is just going to be or basically personal user ID. This is just going to be auth.current user.uid else return. All right, and we want to make sure that this personal ID is not equal to the user ID over here, because if it's not equal, then we can check if there is a functionality for following, if we are following that user, because that makes sure that we're talking about something other than ourselves. All right, but if we are just if this personal user is matching the user ID over here, we don't need actually to make this collection call over here, because we don't follow ourselves, right? And keep that in mind, because we're just going to return to this exactly same phrase. We are not right now following ourselves. Okay, so we can say something like here personal user ID is not equal to the user.id. all right, else, okay, let me just comment that for a second, else we want to set the current following state to personal return. All right, okay, so what if we are not viewing our profile? Then we want to check if actually we are following this profile over here. Okay, so let's just do that. So let me just uncomment this and see if the personal ID over here we can pass it. Actually we can make that into two separate guard statements, because we want to still use this one over here and we don't want to write another one. So okay, so let me see, for example, so a personal ID, yeah, basically we have access to that over here. So personal user ID is following the user.id. We want to consume that, so basically sync, and right here let me just write our completion. So completion is just going to be if case failure let error and we can just print the error really quick over here. And here we are just going to return a Boolean value. So if this is actually true, so is followed. All right, so yeah, also we can catch this weak self. So self dot current following state is followed. We are just going to say user is followed. And here we can say user is unfollowed otherwise. And we want to set this subscription, so we can store it in the subscriptions variable. All right, basically we want to check if this user is followed. So after we initialize the view model, we want to check if user is followed directly. All right, so let's hit build and run to see if everything is working. So basically it's not going to do anything fancy right now. Yeah, we just want to make sure also to remove this fetch user tweets. No, everything is working correctly. So yeah, okay, so as you can see here, we can load our profile and configure. Basically, yeah, we want to see the profile header. So profile table view header, and we want to remove this one over here because we're just hard coding that so that it looks like as you can see. All right, so let's just go to the profile, and as you can see here, it looks terrible, but we're just going to fix that. All right, so maybe because yeah, we're just going to return to that later, but for the first thing that we need to do is actually to expose those two functions to become internal instead of private, so that we can actually change them. All right, and over here, let's just add this following basically manually for now. Or even better, we can just work on the functionality first. All right, so we want to go to the profile view controller, and inside the bind views over here, we just want to bind the current following state as well. So view model dot current following state with the $sign, and over here we can just sync over that. So we have the state over here, which we can capture as well a weak self, because actually we want to switch on that state. All right, so I think we are ready for using that. So case personal, yes, we want to return for now. Case user is followed, we want to do something else. And case user is unfollowed, we want to do also something else. All right, and over here we can just store that inside the subscription. And I guess that's it. So right now it is complaining because we haven't used self yet, but we're just going to do this. So instead of return over here, I think we can expose a function as well so that it can get hidden, I guess. So let's just start by the user is followed. So first of all, I'm just going to say self.headerView.configure as basically unfollow, because the user currently is being followed, right? So the action that we want to show for the user is the action that we want to show the user is unfollow. And in case the user is unfollowed, then the logical action is to configure as follow. And I'm not sure if we have defined that as well. So personal, maybe. No, it's just not added yet. So over here, I'm just going to say function configure as personal. All right. And basically this is just going to say the follow button dot is hidden, and this should be true. And we can just add this to these guys over here, but make sure that it's not hidden. All right, and let's just go back to the profile. So header view dot configure as personal, and that's it. All right, so let's just hit build and run to see what we have so far. All right, so I suspect that we are not going to see the personal, the following button altogether, because we're not following ourselves. So over here, yes, it is completely, it just completely disappeared. So this is because actually we have run into the first guard statement. And over here, if we searched for the newly created Jack Sparrow user over here, I think we're just going to see that. So Sparrow, and over here we can see that this user is not being followed. All right. So we're just getting closer for adding everything here. So I want to go to the profile header view. All right. And for the follow button, I just want to add in an action for that as well. So configure follow button actions, or basically it's just a simple action. And let me just create this function really quick. So private func, and we can just say follow button dot add target. This is just going to be our target, and the selector, I'm just going to say, sorry for that, selector did tap follow button. All right, and it's just going to be a touch up inside. All right. Okay, so I think we need to create this function as well. So it's just going to be an Objective-C private func did tap follow button, and we want to switch over the current state of a button so that we can dispatch the correct action as well. All right. So right here we can above here actually we can say something like private var current follow state. And we can say something like profile following state over here, and by default we said that we're just going to set that to personal. And over here inside the functions in which we configure the button, as you can see here, where is it? So configure as unfollow. So that means that the current state of the profile is unfollowed, right? So the current state is user is followed actually, because the action which is being shown to the user is unfollowed. So that means that the user is followed. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, and over here is just say something like current follow state is user is unfollowed. All right, and over here current state is personal. All right, and instead of using delegates, we can leverage combine here as well. So let me just import combine, and over here I can make something like var follow button action publisher, which is just going to be pass through subject, which is just going to be the current state. All right, so we can say profile following state, and here it's just going to take never and initialize that with the pass through subject over here. All right, so let me just go back to the function that we have defined over here. All right, so pass. All right, so what was it called? Follow button action publisher. and we can send the current state of the profile. So current follow state. All right. So we can access this follow button publisher from the profile view controller. So let's just do that. All right. So inside the bind views method, we can initialize this here as well. So header view dot follow button action publisher, and we can actually sync on that as well. So we can get the state over here. So we can switch over the state, and if user is followed, then it makes sense to call something like viewModel dot unfollow. All right. And here, if user is unfollowed, we can say something like viewModel dot follow. And over here, we can just return. We don't need to do anything. So basically, we need to implement these two functions. So view model, we need to set that up. So profile view controller, or basically profile view model. And over here, I'm just going to create those two functions. So function follow. All right. And if you went here, you can see here it is referencing this one over here, and func unfollow. All right. And basically, we just need to reference the database functions that will actually allow these two bad boys to happen. All right. So let's just go to the database manager. And over here, we can define this. So collection followings. All right. Follower, which is going to be a string, following, a string as well. And over here, we can just return a Boolean variable. So error. And over here, we can say something like database.collection, which is going to be also following path. And we can just set the set value, right? Or basically, we're just going to create a document. So yeah, basically adding a document is just going to create a new document. And we can just set data over here. And basically, we can just say this is the exact same thing. So follower, and set that to follower over here. So basically, this is just going to be my personal ID. And here, I'm just going to say that I am following this. And I think that's it. So after that, so yeah, basically we want to say, we want to map this big boy over here. So we're not returning anything, but we want to return true if that is working. And we want to erase to any publisher so that we can match with this bad boy over here. All right, so let's just create this function in which we're going to use in order to delete the following relationship. So let me just say func collection followings, and we're just going to copy basically the same thing over here. So we want to say delete follower. I think you know where this is going. And here following is just going to be a string. And this is just going to return a Boolean or error. All right, and basically we want to copy this guy over here. So we're just going to query for the exact same relationship from here, and we can just remove this, replace that by follower, and this is by following. And we can just say get documents. And over here, we want to get the reference for each document, basically. So we want to get the documents. And over here, we can say something like first, I guess, it's just going to return an optional one over here. And over here, we're just going to transform that. So we get the query, basically. So this is just going to be the query. I want the reference of that query, and if that's the case, I just want to delete. And as you can see here, basically delete takes a completion. So I can just pass in here nil, for example. And over here, I can return true, so that we can basically conform to this type over here. And we can just say erase to any publisher, and that's it. All right. So we want to hook things up from the view model. So profile view model. And over here, we can say something like database manager.shared.follow. So basically, which was it? So yeah, follower. No, basically this checks. Yeah, basically that's it. We want to add our own user ID. So guard let. Maybe it was basically this is just the unfollow. I need to reverse this. So yeah, this is just going to be the follow. So personal user ID, this is just going to be an auth.current user.user ID. Else we want to return, and we want to pass in this over here. And for the following user, which is the user we are viewing its profile, it's just stored in here. So we can say something like user.id. All right, we can sync and fill the completion code over here. So completion, set that to if case failure, like error. All right, and over here we can just say print error dot localize description. All right, and over here, if everything is working correctly, so is followed, we can capture a weak self over here, weak self, and basically we're just going to update the current following state to user is followed. And we can store that inside the subscriptions. We can do the exact same thing with deleting or basically unfollowing this user. So database manager.shared.collection followings, delete this relationship. So I want to get the same profile personal user ID, and here are just going to be the same user ID. I just want to delete this relationship. So completion, and over here I'm just going to copy the exact same code from here to make it a little bit shorter. All right, and is unfollowed. If yes, so yeah, basically this is we can just ignore this for now, and this one as well. And over here we can just say self.current profile state is user is unfollowed. We can capture weak self to make sure we don't have any routine cycle. And over here we can just store that inside the subscription. So I think that's it. So let me just prepare Firebase over here so that we can see if we have everything's ready. So I can just say followings, and for now I'm just going to add a dummy data for now. So I just want to create this followings, and over here I can just say delete the document. So I have the collection, and whenever we have a following action, we should see it over here. So let's just hope everything is working correctly, because we've been coding for so long. It's almost an hour. All right, so I think Xcode is just going to complain because we haven't referenced this with a weak self. So yeah, weak self, and self question mark, self question mark, and I think that's it. And also we haven't stored this inside the subscription, so thank you Xcode for figuring out what is going on wrong basically with the project until now. All right. So that was a mouthful. So let me just search for Sparrow. And as you can see here, whenever I tap on the profile, I get that we are not following him right now. So I hope everything is gonna work correctly. So for example, I'm just going to hit follow. All right, so it is followed, and as you can see here, we have the following relationship. So if we tap on this, we get to see who is following whom. So basically that is working correctly, perfect. And we want to test the unfollow action as well. So if we tapped on the unfollow, as you can see here, it gets deleted, so that is perfect. The other, or the last thing that we need to see if the isFollowing function is actually working correctly. So we want to follow one more time, make sure that yes, the relationship is stored over here. So let's just dismiss that. And if we tapped on this one more time, we get to see that we are following this user. That is actually amazing. And if you reached this far, congratulations, because we have added so many features that are hard to grasp and hard to understand, but you did an absolutely great job. So that's it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed what you've just watched, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. This is just going to mean a lot to me. And again, that was Amr. Happy coding and stay safe.